गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। We are in Amrit Anubhav, chapter 3, debt of the four speeches, and we are on verse OV number 12. 13 actually, but let's look at the 12 also. So what is it? So it was the thought that we were looking at was, how does avidya trouble the jiva? And there it was told in the 11th OV, this ignorance, whether alive or dead, binds jiva by bondage or freedom. When this avidya is alive in the form of ignorance or dead in the form of knowledge, it puts the jiva in the cage of bondages. When the ignorance is alive, it puts the jiva in the bondage of limitations. When the ignorance depart, it leaves the jiva in the bondage of freedom. Bondage and freedom have meaning only with reference to each other. Jivahood, individuality, is only with reference. Because we have a reference called body, therefore jivahood is there. Otherwise, jiva, there is nothing called jiva. Same way, because wife is there as a reference, so man calls himself husband. Actually, is man, there is nothing called husband. Because of the reference of sunrise and sunset, we say the sunrise is in the east and sunset is in the west. But sun doesn't rise and sun doesn't set. See, it's with reference. All specificity, visheshata, comes due to references. And who are we? Without the self is without reference. We saw that in the 10th verse, I think, 10th OV. We are the center without circumference. We are the center everywhere. So there is no reference. Center must have a circumference. If there is a circumference, then you will have a center. See? And this is where we are caught up all the time in individuality. And what is at the individual level? I am ignorant and now I got knowledge. So the reference was I don't know. Now the reference is I know. Still फंसे हुए हैं. We have to get out of it. And then it was told, if the freedom of the nature of bondage, if the freedom is of the nature of bondage, why do we call it freedom at all? The words bondage and freedom have meaning only in the kingdom of ignorance. See, Agyan and Gyan. Agyan and Gyan. Both are expressions of ignorance alone. In the realm of the self, of the infinite, neither Agyan has any place nor Gyan has any place. Therefore, in Kenopanishad it says that the one who knows doesn't know, and the one who doesn't know, know. See? Therefore, it is told, where, where are we? In Ishavasya Upanishad, what we are studying at the moment, that those who don't know are in darkness, and those who know, they are in deeper darkness. See? So, which means we should not pursue second hand knowledge. We must not pursue that. We are pursuing knowledge through words. We are pursuing knowledge through experience. We are pursuing knowledge through senses, mind, intellect. This is all second hand knowledge. And we are pursuing, why? Because we think we are incomplete. But we are knowledge incarnate. We are knowledge incarnate. If you say freedom is bondage, then why is the word freedom used at all? Why do you use a word to indicate what it is not? Why do you use the word freedom when the word freedom is not of the nature of freedom, but it is an expression of ignorance alone? The teacher replies, this freedom, liberation, has meaning only in the house of ignorance. Only those who are ignorant talk about bondage and freedom. So, this is just a lollipop given to the seeker. भाई liberation, क्या होगा? You will be free. Everyone wants to be free. But at least because of that, he becomes independent. One father is here in Melbourne. The son was smoking in his room and drinking in his room. Father himself was a gunda of his times. But today he is reformed. Does a little bit of yoga, sits in meditation, so thinks he has, he's spiritual. Forgets his days. But the son came, and when he saw that the son was doing this, he threw him out of the house. Initially, why this, that, I will not do this, forget, get out. Within 1 year of going out of the house, or 2 years, the son has bought an apartment now. See? Freedom. So this freedom has meaning only in the house of ignorance. Whether we go out of one house, enter into another house. Whether we go from one chakra to another chakra. So many chakras are there, no? Whether we go from yama, niyama, asana, pranayam. Whether we go from do the laya, merging of earth into water, water into fire, fire into air, air into space. All this is in the realm of ignorance alone. You have got to become free from earth, you have got caught in water. Then till you don't realize, lage raho. and suddenly one day the light, you recognize, realize, "Arey, water is also bondage. Acha, chalo, now I have to merge water into fire." Then next sadhana for 10 years. We had one person in our, when we were studying, whatever sadhana he had done, all the time he had a sun shining bright in his third eye. He felt that way. And he was so obsessed with it, he couldn't go beyond the sun. Couldn't go beyond the sun. Couldn't go beyond the fire element. He's studying the Upanishads. They are telling you are more beyond, you are free, you are in spite of all this. But he could not take that leap. Just as we are not able to take the leap. We are troubled with our wife or husband, we divorce. Divorce is not freedom. You are still identified with your body. And then you will find someone else to get identified with. How many things you will divorce? Eventually you have to recognize that they are all you only. Isn't it? Neti neti, then anvaya. Anvaya means all inclusiveness. So what will we divorce in the name of freedom? I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the intellect. Then what are you? And this is what this Ishwar Advayavad in Kashmiri Shaivism, which Jnaneshwar Maharaj is advocating here. It doesn't believe in neti neti. It takes all inclusiveness, begins with all inclusiveness. Now, how is that bondage and freedom have no meaning? बागुलाचे निमरणे तोषावे की बाळपणे ये रातो नाही वा कोणे मृत्यू मानावा. The death of a goblin or an imaginary ghost may be a matter of joy for a child who was afraid of it, but for the elder, the goblin never existed. How can they have any meaning for its death? I don't know if you did all these games. We did. You know, in the daylight, in the daytime, when the sun is coming into the house, and you make some, if the car is passing on the road, some reflect it, the light or the car will get reflected somewhere, and then it will get, some apparition will come on the wall inside the house and it will go away. Then another cycle will come, it will get reflected because some mirror must be there somewhere or whatever, and its apparition. And we used to tease, trouble the youngsters. Come, I'll show you ghost. And we used to show, see, now someone is going to come. Watch, 1, 2, 3, and something used to come, and they used to, eyes wide open, they will look, this fellow is, you are not afraid, and they will close their eyes and all this. But for you, it is just, there is nothing called ghost, there is nothing called birth of ghost, nothing called death of ghost. But for that small kid, it is very real. Same way, the imaginary ghost used to frighten a child into good behavior, that non-existing ghost is made to die one day to reassure the child. This makes the child very happy because he now feels the ghost will no more trouble him. But for the grown up adult who knows that the ghost never existed, will the death of the ghost have any meaning or for him? Will he celebrate the death like the child does? Neither the existence of the ghost nor its death will carry any significance for him. Similarly, in the kingdom of the Lord, where bondage is not possible, where is the question of freedom? When kids fall, they are learning to walk and they fall and they hurt themselves and they start crying. What do the mothers do? They go to the floor, hatta, hatta, they hit the floor. See, whoever dropped you, whoever made you fall, I have hit him. And the child's attention goes away from his pain to what mummy is hitting. And he feels, and within those few seconds the pain subsides and he is happy. But the mother knows there was nobody to kill, nobody to hit. She was hitting the floor only. But that foolish child thinks, oh, mummy has taken revenge. Mummy has killed it, whatever made me fall. Whatever was the cause of my misery, my mother has taken away. But mother knows there was nobody there. Similarly, Mahatmas, Ishwar, Paramatma, scriptures, they know there is nothing called bondage or freedom. They are just spinning a story for you so that you fools, or we fools, not you fools, we fools, we come out of our imaginary reality. So they introduced, oh, see, I am helping you to come out of the bondage. Scripture is telling us, Scripture Mata is telling us, I am helping you to come out of the bondage. If you do this, bondage will be done. If you do this, body identification will go away. If you do this, space, air, fire, water will not be able to affect you. If you do this, senses will be in control. If you do this, see, but she knows that there is nothing like this. Because Shruti Mata herself says, what does she say? That you have to drop me also. I am also an expression of ignorance alone. See, as much as we are studying the scriptures, following the scriptures, we must not be obsessed by them, by the scriptures. Satsang must go on, no doubt. But subjectively. If subjective approach is not there while studying the scriptures, listening to satsang, then we are in bondage. We continue to remain in bondage. But if we are subjective, then we'll realize there was never any bondage. And if there was never any bondage, then there is no question of freedom also. Because our nature is Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Swarup. Mukta Swarup. Our nature itself is freedom. It is not that a freedom has to be gained. An example is given to illustrate. घटाचे नाही पण फुटलियाची नागवण मानितसे तो जाण म्हणो ये काई. It will be like someone suffering the loss due to the destruction of a non-existent pot. Would we call him wise? It will be like someone suffering the loss due to the destruction of a non-existing pot. Now, which is this pot? This pot is this stupid body. It is non-existing. Just as the body in the dream is non-existing, and when you wake up, who cares, man? No thought with reference to it. But in waking, we have taken this body to be so real. And because we have taken this body so real, then the Jivatma is so real. And this Jivatma is told, you are bound, you are feeling limited only because of the body. So you have to do sadhana. So you have to do satsang. So you will be liberated. फंस गया. When the non existing pot has broken, can one call it a loss? If someone says that the breaking of the pot that never existed is a great loss, will you call him wise? Therefore, those who are in search of liberation are established in ignorance only. Now, my God. So all my life I come to satsang in search of liberation. I read scriptures because I want to be liberated. And here you are saying that search of liberation is ignorance only. Yes, it is ignorance only. Because bondage is an imagination, then freedom is also an imagination. Because we talk about freedom only in opposition to bondage. And who talks about bondage and freedom? Who talks about bondage and freedom?
The ignorant.
The ignorant, yes. The individual talks about bondage and freedom. And who is individual? Who has taken himself to be the body and mind. Isn't it? Because he has accepted himself to be limited, therefore he wants to be unlimited. Get out of that. Why don't you accept? If you have to think that I am limited and now you are thinking I am unlimited, why don't you think that my nature is unlimited? Why you want to, as they say, why you are going into agyan gyan? No, we want to go to the transcend both because they are coexisting. Bondage and liberation are coexisting. They are two sides of the same coin. What is that same coin? Coin of ignorance. And who are you? You are transcendental and immanent. So that idea of bondage and liberation is only a superimposition. And that idea has been introduced to us only because we feel we are the body. We are imagining we are the body. If sun imagined that he is setting every night and rising every morning, then he will have to study scriptures. Then he will say, oh pahimam, pahimam, I'm tired, I'm getting chakkar aa rahe hain mere ko, I'm having a swoon. Please Lord, please come and help me, I want to go to. He said, what will Lord say to him? Exactly this verse. That your sunrise, that you are rising or you are setting is only an imagination. Therefore, freedom of this imagination of bondage of rising and setting is freedom. But what is the nature of the sun? Ever free. He never sets and he never rises. Same is our situation. Same is our situation. We are never born and we will never die. Paramatma doesn't need liberation. Understand? Paramatma doesn't need liberation. Ishvara, he doesn't have a mind, so no liberation for him also. Jagat, it is inert, no liberation for Jagat also. Jivatma, there is no liberation for Jivatma also because he is a ghost, he doesn't exist. Only Paramatma exists. You can't have Paramatma as Satchidanand Swarup and Jivatma also. No, Jivatma is no, there is nothing called Jivatma. Just as from water's point of view, there is nothing called ocean or wave. Wave is the Jivatma. Ocean is the Ishvara. So where is liberation? No, nothing. You are right here and now.
Alert from calendar. Boxing Day observed. Regional holiday. Alert from calendar. Proclamation Day.
You are as you are right here and now. Accept it. But we accept ourselves only with references. And that's where the mistake is. That's where the mistake is. Referential existence is a ghostly existence. Then there will be bondage and freedom. Get out of it. The search for happiness is the greatest misery. When there is nothing to lose or gain, then one is already in one's own place or being. Then when there is nothing to lose or gain. सुख दुख समय कृत्वा लाभा लाभौ जया जयो. Jaya Jayo, Sukha Dukha, gain and loss, victory and defeat. It has got nothing to do with us. We are the transcendental and the immanent. We are that one on whom all this is superimposed. By whom? By others. You don't superimpose it on yourself. Bhagwan Shri Krishna, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, verse 22 says, Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham. Drop every thought of gain, loss, security, etc. Just being is the acme of existence. Becoming is bondage. Woman becoming is wife. Woman becoming is mother. Woman becoming is daughter. A person becoming is I am a seeker now. I am a meditator now. You are becoming. We are not being. Becoming is always with references. Being is without references, without circumference, without any parameters. And that we are at this very moment. Just bring your attention to that. Just being is the acme of existence. Becoming is bondage. So long as becoming is associated with being, bondage continues. In one place it is called bondage, in another freedom. Both bondage and freedom fall in the category of ignorance alone. When this pure consciousness, this self, this being who is of the nature of freedom, therefore he doesn't know what freedom is, just like sun does not know what light is. And therefore it does not know what darkness is. Similarly, if we are of the nature of being, we are ever free, freedom is our nature, swatantraya, then we don't know what is ignorance and knowledge. We don't know what is bondage and freedom. So the point that is Jnaneshwar Maharaj is making here is both bondage and freedom, knowledge and ignorance, all of them are children of ignorance alone, are expressions of ignorance alone. Now, this is not being told to confuse us, it is being told to us so that we recognize that our pursuit of knowledge must not be objective in nature. Our pursuit of knowledge must be subjective. No, it is not said, do not follow the scriptures. Follow the scriptures. It is not said, don't read this. Read Bhagavad Gita, read whatever. But how much? How many scriptures are we going to read? How many texts are we going to go through to convince ourselves? How many times did you get married to convince that there is a wife or a husband? Only once, no? How many times did you give birth to recognize that there is motherhood within you? The first child itself. No, I forgot what motherhood is. I need to give another birth. Then I will come to know. No. Nisargadatta Maharaj went to one satsang, convinced without a doubt, asked what should he practice, came back 3 years later, came out of the room a realized man. And here we are, professional satsangis and professional speakers, going through one text after text, Shankar Bhashya, Amritanubhav second time, Bhagavad Gita, Panchadashi, खाक कर लेंगे इसका सब पढ़ पढ़ के. So it is only to impress on the seeker कि भाई whatever you are seeking through satsang, through studies of scriptures, you already are. So whatever sadhana we pursue in our life, it is only at a level of ignorance. Sadhana is only at the level of ignorance. Whether it is karma yoga, whether it is bhakti yoga, whether it is jnana yoga, all is expression of ignorance only. You are not accepting, you are not just being. Accepting bhi chhod do. You are not being, which you always are. The thought is continued. Manauni bandhachi tavavavo ma moksha ke prastavo maroni ke lathavo avidyataya. Therefore, when the bondage itself is an illusion, Where is the reality in liberation? This ignorance alone creates bondage while it is alive, and freedom when it is dead. Therefore, when the bondage itself has no strength in its own existence, bondage itself has no strength in its own existence. The moment you become aware of any bondage within you, that bondage goes away. Knowledge comes instead of it. Till you are not aware of your shortcoming, you are in ignorance. When you become aware of your shortcomings, now you are not in ignorance. Now you know you have a shortcoming, knowledge. Same way. It has no itself has no strength in its own existence. That is, the bondage is only a hallucination. Where is the reality in moksha or liberation? Because the ignorance itself has created these two. While the ignorance lasts, it is called bondage. In the death of ignorance, it is called liberation. Both have meaning only with reference to ignorance. Ignorance and knowledge are both ignorance alone. When I am with my wife, I don't have a wife. Imagining. When I am with my wife and she is eating my head, when I am with my children, they are eating my head, I am at work, boss is eating my head, then what do I want? बहुत हो गया. I want freedom from all this. So what is freedom? थोड़ा योगा कर लो, थोड़ा प्राणायाम कर लो, थोड़ा सा कपाल भाती भस्त्रिका किया, suddenly you go into a quiet zone, go into meditation. So the world was bondage, meditation was freedom. But when you come out of meditation, the bondage is waiting. When you come out of meditation, bondage is waiting. Again to trouble you, again to eat your head. Again you will run to liberation. What is liberation? Meditation. For you, temporary liberation. Why talk only about this? Is it not happening? Every night when you go to sleep, it is liberation from all the responsibilities, identifications, roles, shortcomings, diseases, fears. From everything you become free when you go to sleep. Freedom. You wake up, again the whole rigmarole begins. Same thing. In sleep you are going into ignorance. And you think going into meditation is you have reached some higher stage. Meditation is nothing but wakefully sleeping, that's all. But it is still under the purview, or can't even say under the purview, it is still an expression of ignorance. Does it mean that we should not practice? No, practice. With this knowledge you practice. That I want to come to a point of disposition where going into meditation is equal to coming out of meditation. The self is within. In meditation also, self is there right now also when I am interacting with the world. So why do I need a special condition in order to know myself? As a seeker, yes, I must not be disturbed by the senses, I must not be disturbed by the thoughts. Then meditation. All these thoughts will be appreciated when your mind is quiet. That the nature of the mind is silence and sound, silence and sound, effort, effortlessness, effort, effortlessness, desire, desirelessness, desire, desirelessness. This is what, these are the two polarities of the mind. And when you come to recognize that you are independent of this yo-yoing of the mind, because even after, if we say realization, liberation, the mind is still going to be there. Hunger will still be there. Heat and cold will still be there. Gain and loss will still be there. But there is no owner of it. Right now we have become the owner of this illusion. Just like that child who was afraid of the ghost, of that apparition on the wall, and when that apparition died, he became happy. So his misery began with the advent of the apparition, and his happiness began with the death of the apparition. But for you, the adult, for you, neither there was the birth of the apparition nor the death of the apparition. The day we recognize or take that position or be that, not take, be that in that position, in that poise, and see this entire creation, not only the waking, dream and sleep also, as only an apparition. Phenomena will continue. Don't take it to be the reality. Then you are. This shift in position is the attempt of the scriptures, is the attempt of Jnaneshwar Maharaj here. He has come to that point, therefore he is able to talk about it. Now Jnaneshwar Maharaj quotes from two important sources, one from the Shaivagama Shiva Sutra and the other from the Bhagavad Gita. Ani Jnana Bandha Aise Shiva Sutra Che Nimise Manitale Ase Sadashive. Lord Sadashiva declared in Shiva Sutra, knowledge is bondage, Jnana Bandha. This is the sutra which comes in the Shiva Sutras. Jnanam Bandha. In this OV, the Shiva Sutra is cited. The Yoga Marga is called Shaivagama. It is an ancient system claimed to have existed even before the dawn of the Mahavakyas in the Upanishadic tradition. These are three approaches. There are three approaches to this path. One which declares the Advaita Vedanta, the philosophy which establishes non-duality. In the Shiva Sutras, the first sutra is Chaitanya Atma. Utilizing this statement, in fact, the student is expected to focus his attention on the pure consciousness. Chaitanya is the throb, Chaitanya is the consciousness, Chaitanya is the awareness. And the first sutra itself says Chaitanya Atma. Atma is your way, is you. But if our disposition is I am the body, then for us body is the Atma. If our disposition is without senses there is no purpose of life, then senses are the Atma. For someone mind is the Atma, for someone intellect is the Atma, for someone wife is the Atma, for someone husband is the Atma, for someone mother is the Atma. And they cannot think anything outside that parameter. So it depends. Every person people say, oh, I have to realize my own truth. Hey, what is your own truth? There is only one truth. There is no one truth per person. I want to study Bhagavad Gita and come to know my own truth. अच्छा 30 मार्क कहाँ हो गए हो? 8 billion people cannot come to 8 billion conclusions of truth. There is only one truth. And if 8 billion people are coming to recognize that there is only one truth, then it is a proper conclusion. This will happen in Satya Yuga. So, first verse itself is telling us that Chaitanya Atma is consciousness. Consciousness is Atma is consciousness. Both ways you can put it. So are we putting our attention on the being the Atma? Can we put attention on the consciousness? This example I keep giving again and again. Can the eyes look at themselves? Not possible. But you know there is eye, from where vision is happening. Can the ears listen to themselves? When the ears listen to themselves, then there will be nada dhvani. Then all other sounds will merge into that one continuous sound of silence. See? Can mind come to know itself? No, because mind is duality. How can it come to know itself? It's impossible. But we know there is mind. We know that the eye has never seen itself, but it knows it is there. Mind has never come to know the mind, but it knows it is thinking, that there is a mind where the thoughts are happening. Similarly, accept that you are the consciousness in essence, on which this intellect, these thoughts, this breath, these senses, this body, this whole universe is superimposed. You are all that there is. But this is not it is not a thought conclusion. If it is a thought conclusion, the world will still remain separate from you. But the day we recognize that Chaitanya Atma is consciousness and consciousness is Atma, and that I am, that very moment the vision will change with regards to this creation, which includes your body, breath, mind, intellect also. In the Shiva Sutras, the first sutra is Chaitanya Atma. Utilizing this statement of fact, the student is expected to focus his attention on the pure consciousness. That sadhana or experience where one is intensely aware of pure consciousness is meditation, is intensely aware of pure consciousness but has not merged into pure consciousness. Why? Why he has not merged? He is still accepting himself with references somewhere in his in his mind. He still feels the world is. He still feels he is a husband. He still feels that he is a seeker. Complete final dissolution has not happened. And because there is the final dissolution is not, it is he is intensely aware, wanting liberation. This wanting also has to go. This sutra finds its echo in several Upanishadic statements in different forms. Example, Prajnanam Brahma, Ayam Atma Brahma, etc. The second Shiva Sutra says, immediately, second Sutra says, Jnanam Bandhaha, knowledge is bondage, meaning that in the absolute there is no differentiation in the form of desire, knowledge and action. In the Atma there is nothing called avidya kama karma. In Ishvara also there is nothing called avidya kama karma. So there is no mind. In Atma also there is no possibility of avidya kama karma. Because when the vision has been transformed to see everything is nothing but divine, then where is avidya kama karma? So, first one was told Chaitanya Atma, Atma is consciousness, consciousness is Atma, and immediately, so that you don't make it into an objective knowledge that Chaitanya Atma, immediately it is told Jnanam Bandha. This Chaitanya is Atma and Atma is Chaitanya is not at thought level. Jnanam Bandha means, for us, Jnanam means only at thought level. Knowledge which is accrued by way of thoughts. Understanding is by way of thoughts. We are not talking about that knowledge. We are talking about the thought-free knowledge. We are talking about that which is in spite of the thoughts, even at this moment. And once recognized, it is in and through the thoughts also. Because it's transcendental and immanent. Then what are thoughts? They are only imaginations on that one without a second principle. The second Shiva Sutra says, Jnanam Bandhaha, knowledge is bondage, meaning that in the absolute there is no differentiation in the form of desire, knowledge and action. Pure consciousness, along with its inherent potentiality, has not yet started differentiating into the aspect of willpower to become Sadashiva, the aspect of Jnana Shakti to become Ishvara, and the aspect of Kriya Shakti to become Sadvidya. So this is the language of the Shiva Sutras. So what is that? pure consciousness along with its inherent potentiality. Lord Shiva, along with his inherent potentiality, the Shakti. We saw that the Shakti is unmanifest, then it manifests, isn't it? So here it is unmanifest. When it manifests, how does it manifest? According to Shankaracharya, here Sattva Rajas Tamas. Here instead of Sattva Rajas Tamas, it is taken as Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti. Ichha Shakti is the Rajas, Jnana Shakti is the Sattva, and Kriya Shakti is the Tamas. The thought is the same, terminology is different. Woman is the same. Someone calls you mother, someone calls you wife, someone calls you daughter, but you are the same woman. Same way here also. So pure consciousness along with its inherent potentiality has not yet started differentiating. So what is this in our Shankar Bhashya? It is the avyakta, avyakrita. Where are we seeing these words? In Ishavasya Upanishad. Avyakta, avyakrita, avidya, maya. That which has not started expressing. But the potentiality is there to express or not to express. But it has not expressed yet. Has not yet started differentiating into the aspect of willpower to become Sadashiva. So when it starts expressing, then with reference to the will, the wielder of that Shakti is Sadashiva. With respect to Prakriti, you call the infinite reality as Ishvara. With respect to Shakti, you are calling the Paramashiva as Shiva, isn't it? But if Shakti has not expressed, then can you say there is Shiva? No, then there is only Paramashiva. But the moment the desire expresses, Ichha Shakti expresses, that very moment, that Paramashiva is now called as Sadashiva. Another. Then what is the next one? Differentiate with the aspect of willpower to become Sadashiva, the aspect of Jnana Shakti to become Ishvara. Ishvara is in other words, Ishvara is the maintainer of the creation. I told you, what did I tell you? Ichha Shakti is, another word for it is Rajas, creation. Jnana Shakti, another word for it is Sattva, maintenance. And Kriya Shakti is, another word for it is Tamas, or destruction. So, with respect to Kriya Shakti, Ichha Shakti, that one Shiva is called as Sadashiva. With respect to Jnana Shakti, he is called as Ishvara. And with respect to Kriya Shakti, he is called as Sadvidya. Sadvidya. Knowledge. Which knowledge? Second-hand knowledge. From our point of view. Who gave it? Who gave this Sadvidya? Ishvara only gave it. See? Could Ishvara give it without Sadashiva? So, in fact, this question is invalid because that one alone is expressing as Sadashiva, as Ishvara, and as Sadvidya. You alone are expressing as the waker, dreamer, and sleeper, isn't it? But in that relative waking, dream, and sleep, we say, what do we say? We say sleep is the cause and waking and dream are the effect, isn't it? Something like that we say in our Vivek Chudamani, Shankar Bhashya, etc. So same way here these three potentialities of the Shakti, Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti and Kriya Shakti with reference to that this Paramashiva is now called as Sadashiva, as Ishvara and as Sadvidya. When pure consciousness gets bifurcated or polarized into aham idam vritti, it is called knowledge. This we have seen it before. When what is mind? Nothing but pure consciousness. As if that pure consciousness is having two waves over it. One wave of aham and the other wave of idam. Isn't it? As if divides itself into two. As if the woman has divided herself into three. Wife, mother, daughter. That is why this word iva is as if. It's a very important word in our scriptures, which denotes that it's all imagined. But we take it to be real. We don't take our roles that we are playing as imaginary. We take them to be real. When we are given that, the Shakti divided herself into Ichha Shakti, Kriya Shakti, Jnana Shakti, we take it to be real. It is only imagination. So that our mind gets convinced that it is the play of the one alone. So when the idea is given that one Paramashiva becomes Shiva and Shakti, it was the Leela. Then that Shakti becomes the Ichha Kriya Gyan. That is further expansion of the Leela. Same way, in pure consciousness, as if it goes through bifurcation, because that is the nature of consciousness. This we saw in the Shiva Shakti Samavesh. Is the nature. Continuously, if you even look what scientists say, continuously the universe is expanding and collapsing. Continuously, simultaneously. Exponentially it is expanding. And exponentially it is getting sucked into something. They are not able to, they call it black hole, but they have not found that black hole yet. Both are happening at the same time. So when we start catching this, for that you have to take a step back. That creation and destruction, birth and death are two phenomena taking place at the same time. Are we able to see that? Are we able to catch this phenomena of manifestation and unmanifestation, outside, inside. And if we have our mind has calmed down a little bit, then we'll observe that this manifestation of duality and unmanifestation of duality, it keeps going on. So this consciousness as if gets bifurcated or polarized into aham idam vritti. Vritti means thought. So I thought and that thought. Aham is I, idam is that. That are many, I is always one. And that I am. So we think I am the thought. We are not the thought. We are the one who knows that the I thought is coming and going. With every I know Usha, I know Ravi, I see myself. So in all these three sentences, every time I was appearing, isn't it? So I is coming and I is going. So first I see Usha. So with reference to Usha, I was born. I needs a reference. Aham cannot survive by itself. Aham vritti cannot survive by itself. Aham thought cannot survive by itself. It needs a reference. Just like you cannot have a wife all by herself. No, she has a reference. A husband has to be there in order to be wife. So same way, this I, the moment I say I see Usha, Usha is the reference, I pops up, then it goes away, dies. Then again I see Ravi, the moment Ravi is the reference, immediately the thought appears, I see Ravi. Then it dies away, it doesn't stay permanently. No thought remains permanently. But every thought that appears, along with it, I is there. And who are you? Not this I which is coming and going. You are the permanent one. You don't need to think in order to be. You are in spite of thinking. This knowledge is bondage because in the pure consciousness, subject object knower known relationship is created. So what is pure consciousness? Infinite. What is pure consciousness? All knowing. What is pure consciousness? Ever existing. And on it, because of this bifurcation of aham idam, what is happening? Otherness is created. I versus you is created. Parameters are created. Limitations are created. Because I needs to associate with something, so it keeps, because it has forgotten what it was, because we are not accepting ourselves as we are, now we continuously seek association or reference point in order to pop ourselves up. And immediately subject object, knower known, seer seen, hearer heard, experiencer experienced. This is the duality and this is the phenomena. And this phenomena is not the reality. This phenomena is not the reality. Catch it. This sense of otherness is the cause of bondage. Naturally, if the other is adding value to me, I love the other. If that other is putting me down all the time, I want to be free of the other. So both are bondage. Attachment is also raga dvesh. Raga dvesh is bondage. Attachment and non-attachment both are bondage. Who are you? Are you the one who is attached? No. Are you the one who is detached? No. because attachment and detachment are ideas of the phenomena, are an expressions of ignorance, are imaginations within this pure consciousness that I am. With reference to objects, it creates desire and fear. With reference to God, it creates self deprecation and fear. With reference to objects, it creates, excuse me, it creates desire and fear. Otherness will always create desire or fear. Either you will be attracted to something or you will be afraid of something. Today you are attracted to your husband, to your children. One day you will be afraid. Life is like that. Phenomena is like that only. Nothing remains permanent. Nothing remains permanent in this phenomena. The quicker we catch it, the better for us. Then this obsession with this phenomena, with this otherness, will diminish if you catch the phenomena as phenomena. What are we doing? We are taking phenomena as the reality, this otherness as the reality, the references as the reality, the subject object as the reality. No, don't fall into that trap. Recognize that in spite of this phenomena, I am the continuous one at this very moment. Not one day, not in meditation only, right now, right here. So with reference to object, it creates desire and fear. With reference to God, it creates self-deprecation and fear. Now what has happened? I kept God somewhere up there on a higher pedestal, and pahimam, pahimam, papoham, papoham, I am the sinner, I have done so many wrong things. Please excuse me, please guide me, please deliver me. And what is this Atma that you are? Tadayjati, tannayjati, taddure, tadvantike, tadantarasya, sarvasya. Tadu sarvatra bahyatah. Atma, this pure consciousness is that. It moves everywhere without moving. It is inside and outside. And we are obsessed with our house. This is my house, this is my bed, this is my furniture, this is my car. And who are you? You are the one who moves without moving. That is your true nature. You are inside and outside. Space doesn't feel the bondage of the walls. It is infinite in nature. You may build as many walls as you want. Take that position. Keep contemplating on the nature of space. That also can get you there. See? And when we consider ourselves to be separate from the God, when we consider ourselves to be lower than God, when we consider that God is a separate entity whose grace is required, when we do not recognize that He is Sarva Vyapi, He is expressing in and through me right now, here itself. then fear will come. Fear only comes because you have kept him separate. Fear only comes because you have kept him separate. These principles are so powerful that this pure consciousness is that in which totality and individuality are imagined, micro and macro are imagined. See? From this standpoint, Bhagwan Sri Krishna gave the entire lecture of the Bhagavad Gita. From this standpoint, he lived his entire life in the incarnation of Krishna. Never once he forgot what his true nature is. He ever expressed as the pure consciousness, but doing the drama outside. We have forgotten that we are pure consciousness. So we have taken the phenomena to be real and doing the drama of realization and spirituality. उल्टा कर रहे हैं हम. और फिर उसमें फ्रस्ट्रेट हो जाते हैं. This knowledge creates dvandva or pairs of opposites, bandha and moksha. These are again same point is being brought again, that bandha and moksha, bondage and freedom, they are only expressions of ignorance. Phenomena is expression of ignorance. Both bandha and moksha, bondage and liberation, fall under the purview of jnanam. Purview of jnanam, purview of knowledge. But which knowledge? Which knowledge? Remember, when we have taken, when with reference to Jnana Shakti, he is called Ishvara, isn't it? That one Paramashiva is called as Ishvara. So this Jnanam is this, that we have kept Ishvara separate to us, and this Jnanam is possible only in the waking state. That is the Sattvic state. That is where the Jnana Shakti is prevalent. In deep sleep and in waking, in dream, Jnana Shakti is not prevalent. Jnana Shakti is possible only in the Sattvic state, expressed only in the Sattvic state. So only, you don't know you are in bondage or you are seeking liberation in dream. You don't know you are in bondage or seeking liberation in deep sleep. Only in waking these thoughts come, isn't it? So it is told that both bandha and moksha fall under the purview of jnanam. Jnanam here means that I, the individual, am experiencing bondage and I want to attain liberation. This happens only in the waking state. It doesn't happen anywhere else. In this way, the individuality is maintained. The seeking, the running away from bondage and seeking liberation is itself a bondage. Just like we have given this example, just like a high jumper, he holds that long pole. He runs about 100 meters away. He holds it on his shoulder and he runs and runs and runs and runs and he digs it into the ground, and that pole is flexible, and using the flexibility and the strength of the pole, he raises himself high. He keeps holding on to the pole till his body has gone over the barrier. And when he sees that the entire body has gone over the barrier without touching the barrier, then, and he continues that sometimes it's only one finger slightly touching, but when he sees that he is completely through, then he lets go of the support. So yes, initially idea of liberation, moksha was helpful. But when we come to this deep understanding, then and having gone through so many scriptures which have washed our mind over and over again, because we are hard nuts to crack. So now this seeker within us is being guided that अभी छोड़ दो यार, ये idea of liberation भी छोड़ दो. It has brought you to where you are now. Now it's time to take the plunge. You don't know how it is going to be. Yes, you cannot come to know. You don't know what marriage is going to be, but you take the plunge. You don't know how the childbirth is going to be, but you take the plunge. You don't know what the parenthood is going to be, but you take the plunge. You don't know what the new job is going to be, but you take the plunge. Unknown people, unknown environment, and you learn to accept it. But here we are not going into the unknown. We are going into ourselves and to be ourselves. But for that, all that which is coming and going, all that thought knowledge, we are letting go. This idea of freedom we are letting go. It helped us to come up till here. It helped us to recognize that if I give undue importance to the phenomena, it becomes bondage. If I continue to take the phenomena as I, then it is bondage. If I continue to maintain duality, then it is bondage. And I want to be free. Now you are focused on freedom, you have become a satsangi, you have become a seeker, and you have come to this point. Now it is being told, now you give up the idea of freedom also. Otherwise, if you keep holding on to the idea of freedom, you are still bound. Because freedom is opposite of bondage. So you are still in duality. You will still in phenomena. Get out, transcend it. In this way, the individuality is maintained if we do not give up. If we keep thinking of bondage and liberation, this kind of knowledge is bondage. Therefore, Lord Sadashiva has declared in the Shiva Sutras that knowledge is bondage, jnanam bandhaha. It is said that Lord Shiva revealed to one of his devotees where the Shiva Sutra engraved on stone were hidden, and asked him to propagate them to counteract the onset of Dvaita in the world. It is further stated that Lord Shiva himself revealed the meaning of each sutra. So long as the knowledge exists within the framework of aham idam thought, one is in bondage. As long as the knowledge exists in the framework of thoughts, it is bondage. Even if one imagines it to be freedom, any thought or action which permits and nurtures the dichotomy is sin, papa. So, if we say that, if we propagate that we have to go to Vaikuntha, we have to go to Saket, if we propagate that we have to merge into the divine, if we propagate that uh, we have to control the various faculties and come to recognize that we are the transcendental reality. So you have to give up something and you have to attain something. All this is possible only in bondage. It is propagation of bondage. It is propagation of duality. Because it's this versus that. God is other than you. It is propagation of duality. Any thought or action which permits and nurtures this dichotomy is the separation, is sin. So our language, our actions must always try to bring people together, must always try to bring the best out of the people who are coming to us, must always suggest to them that they are the divine in essence, that everything is divine, everything is all right. But if you instill doubt, suspicion, fear, separation, me versus you, higher versus lower, rich versus poor, then it is a sin. If you accept yourself as a mother and then daughter and then wife, it is a sin. If you accept yourself as Annamaya, Pranmaya, Manomaya, Vijnanmaya Kosh, Anandmaya Kosh, it is a sin. Then who are you? The one. Now if you keep thinking, I am the one, I am the one, I am the one, Aham Brahmasmi, it is a sin. But that Aham Brahmasmi was a helpful thought to wean you away from all the gross and subtle, to bring you to Aham Brahmasmi. Now Aham Brahmasmi has to be given up. Just as I am sleepy, I am sleepy, I am sleepy was helpful, that thought was helpful to empty your mind. You didn't empty the mind, mind got empty of the world. But now this thought, I am sleepy, also has to be given up. Same way the idea of freedom and bondage also has to be given up. Idea of moksha also has to be given up. So here he is saying, does not arise even once in a while is punya. So when now you have heard it, now are we going to live a life of papa punya? Are we going to live a life of separation, differences, sense of otherness? Papa punya comes when you are accepted God is separate from you. If God is inherent within you is expressing in and through you, and this creation is nothing but the expression of the divine itself, then where is the question of committing a sin, and where there is a question of gaining merit? He is in and through. Papa punya comes where there is separation. Papa punya comes, and where there is separation, their individuality precipitates. So keep your vision, keep your attention always on that unifying principle, subjectively. Then he is inside and outside. Ishavasamitegam sarvam yat kinchit jagatyam jagat. If he is everything, then what will you desire in this world? No, all your desires get fulfilled in toto simultaneously. Now you don't have to run around. I have to see America, I have to see India, I have to do Chardham, I have to go to Kailash. You will get exhausted afterwards. Here, without going anywhere, Taday jati tannay jati. Without moving anywhere, he has gone everywhere. Wow, wonderful. Without going after any desire, all his desires are satisfied. Ishavasamitegam sarvam. Be that. Recognize that. Without a thought. Or in spite of the thought. Lord Shiva has said this very clearly in the Shiva Sutras. This sutra comes twice, once from the absolute standpoint and the second from the relative standpoint, Jivatma Bhava. In the second place, it means, from the Jivatma Bhava point, it means that knowledge which functions through limitations is bondage. Limitations imposed on consciousness is called jnanam. Limitations imposed on consciousness. What is limitation? Thought is a limitation. What is limitation on water? Wave is a limitation. Is consciousness because of thoughts, or are thoughts because of consciousness? Pervaded by consciousness, existing in consciousness, maintained in consciousness, merging in consciousness. This creation, maintenance and merging we are talking about, but it is always consciousness. So limitations imposed on consciousness is called jnanam, and which is bondage. When our attention is on the thoughts, it is bondage. Our attention should be on the illuminator of the thoughts. Our attention should be what is that space in which the thoughts are coming and going, which is called mind. What is this mind? When we say focus on the mind, we focus on the thoughts. What is that mind in which the thoughts are coming and going? You even think about that, you are with yourself. You are back to base. Now, in the next 17th verse, Bhagavad Gita is quoted. We'll look at it in our next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Happy New Year to every one of you.
Happy New Year, Swamiji. Hari Om, Swamiji.
कब है New Year? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? When is it?
Thursday night.
Thursday night. Okay. So we'll still meet on Wednesday, some of us.
Yeah.
ठीक है. Anyway, for others, Happy New Year. Enjoy. Be.
Hari Om Swamiji.
Hari Om. Take care.
Thank you,
Hari Om,
Swami.
Swamiji.
Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari
Hari
Om.
Om, Swamiji. Thank you, Swamiji. Renuka.
Hari Om Renuka.
Bye.
Hari Om Swamiji.
Hari Om. Hari Om.